Ladies and gentlemen, as I'm sure you're aware, Erin Molan has been fighting for the Jewish people for a very long time, and yet she's not Jewish. But someone who is Jewish is Bill Ackman, and she interviewed Bill Ackman recently on Israel, October 7th, his connection with the Jewish people, etc., with his Jewish faith, as well as the hostage deal and what it means for Israel. Check out this interview.
Quickly touch now on the Middle East and October 7 and how that changed your life and your existence.
Sure. So, I'm Jewish. I'm married to an Israeli. I've always been supportive of Israel. I've been supportive of Jewish people. But if you were to look at I've been a pretty philanthropic person. If you were to kind of look at the philanthropic grants that I've made over the course of my life, 90+% have been non-Israel, non-Jewish related. And the reason for that is that we allocate philanthropic resources to people or institutions or things that we think need help. And I've kind of had this sort of view that Jews have made enormous progress, Israel as a country has made enormous progress, and therefore didn't need much in the way of sort of help, and issues around anti-Semitism had really largely faded. October 7th happens, which of course is a pretty significant moment for the world, and obviously if you're Jewish. And it was really October 8th. It was the day after. It was the response of 34 Harvard student organizations put out statements basically saying Israel is solely responsible for the acts of Hamas. And what was it's obviously stunning, to say the least, that kind of statement, but there are actually still Hamas terrorists on Israeli soil, which the IDF is doing their best to. They're still killing people while people were supporting them. And this to me was pretty shocking, and I didn't understand where this was coming from. And that sort of began a little bit of a journey where I went up to campus, met with faculty, met with students broadly, met with Jewish students in particular, and started learning about what the called the ideological origins of where this sort of came from. And that has been pretty interesting, and I realized that this wasn't just an anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic problem, it was really an anti-American problem.
Absolutely. I think particularly in that space, would you agree that it never ends with the Jewish people? This is a war on everything we value in the West in terms of our freedom, democracy, 100%. Love, hope, decency. So how can you, in your mind, and I struggle to do this immensely, come to terms with the fact that people who purport to be passionate about human rights are activists, are feminists, march in our streets waving their flags? Can you make that make sense?
I don't think it makes sense in any way on any kind of concept of fairness or humanity or right and wrong. I think you can explain where it comes from. Among the things I'm spending time on, the issues in elite education don't stop there. The issues are in high schools. The issues are in elementary schools, and this sort of ideology or worldview that there are oppressors and oppressed is something that has pervaded, government, corporations, and really educational institutions at large. And it's a very dangerous ideology. It's kind of a new version of a Marxist ideology, and I think Jewish people, Israel, are perceived in many cases accurately as very successful. Not every Jewish person is affluent. There are plenty of.
I know a couple of poor ones.
There are plenty of poor ones. Yeah. But I think the people generally have. The Jewish people have outperformed on a relative basis, and so they become a pretty good target. And in the context of a world with 7+ billion people, there are 15 million Jews, 0.2% of the global population. It's sort of I called it in one of my first letters, Jews are the canary in the coal mine. It's sort of an early indicator of problems with society. It's really easy to attack a group where 99.8% of the rest of the world is not from that group. But it sort of expands from there. But Israeli values are largely American values. Free speech, democracy, capitalism. These kind of principles and are American principles.
The world has failed Israel, I believe, immensely since October 7. The world has failed Jewish people, particularly leadership of the world. And I don't think we would be here, well, we certainly wouldn't, if lawyers had come down strong and tough on the actual perpetrators of October 7, put immense pressure on Hamas, Iran, etc., all those around them, we would never have lost as many lives as we've lost now. Do you trust Donald Trump and his administration to do the right thing, whatever that may be, by Israel and by the Jewish population?
Yes.
Why?
Because of his actions and his words.
Do you have any take on the hostage deal?
So it's important to get these hostages back. The cost is releasing terrorists. I think the calculation is Israel's done a pretty good job getting rid of terrorists. So I think these are just the ultimate targets, for a future military operation, if necessary. If these terrorists go back to normal lives and they're not terrorists, then they're not a threat. If they're going to be, working to destroy Israel or kill Jewish people, their life expectancy isn't long. And I wouldn't underestimate the Israelis at this point, right? If they can put an explosive device in a pager, maybe they can put a chip in every prisoner they release so they know where they are.
Great idea at the end there by Bill Ackman to just, put a chip in these terrorists, maybe an explosive device or something in their brain for releasing them. So in case they go renegade and, try to do more terrorism, boom, finished. I don't see the hostage deal as a good deal. I think he also probably just sees it as like, listen, they're doing it, it's pretty much over. There's nothing else to say about it, but I guess time will tell about this hostage deal. For more, subscribe to this channel. If you want to help us make more of these videos, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored. That's buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored. Thank you and have a good one.